Alright, so this is our information video for our 3D printed glider project. To be a little bit more specific, we're going to be designing a 3D printed glider that will be launched using a rubber band. So I want to give a little bit of explanation of what we're doing here, what the requirements are. So that's why I have this video. I'm going to show you a couple of websites to go to. We're going to be designing our gliders in Onshape, and we're going to be launching them using a rubber band. I'm not going to give you a ton of requirements for this because I think at this point you guys have a pretty good idea of what our 3D printers are capable of. So you do need to take into consideration what will you actually be able to 3D print. This glider can be made, probably should be made, of multiple pieces that you will assemble after printing. The intention is that the majority of this glider project will be 3D printed. All of it should be designed in Onshape, but if there are some parts or a part of it that you would like to use something existing, say for instance, through some of my research I found some ideas where people use a straw as the fuselage or the body of the glider. Something like that would be acceptable if you want to take something existing and design other parts for it. But if you're using that straw, you do need to design that straw in Onshape as well. So after you do some initial research, you'll be going to Onshape and you'll be doing your design work in there. So I'm not going to get into that. I hope everyone is at a point where they are comfortable doing what they need to do in Onshape. So what I would suggest you do to start your research is go to Google and type in rubber band launched glider, and you'll see some different ideas in here. Now this particular type right here, this is not a glider. This is actually like a powered glider, a plane where you're going to be winding up a propeller. Our glider project will not have a propeller. It will just be launched by a stretched out rubber band. So something more along the lines of what you can see in my screen down here, or these first ones up here. These are foam gliders of the style that we're talking about. So if I click on those, you can get a better idea of what they look like. But this is kind of the idea. We're looking at something that is going to be a reasonable size. I say reasonable, keeping in mind that our Ender 3 printers that we're going to be printing these parts on have a bed size of about 9 by 9 inches. So you are going to need to keep your design within the constraints that our 3D printers are going to allow. You're also going to have to account for something that you will be able to hook a rubber band onto. You can see in this photo right here how there's somebody holding a little, essentially it's like a launching stick with a rubber band attached to it, and then you can see that there is a hook under the nose of the glider that you're going to hook the other end of that rubber band to, and we're going to stretch that back, and then when you let go you should give enough energy to that glider to get it airborne. So that is the plan. You do want to keep in mind the shape of an airfoil, which if you don't know what that is, don't sweat it too much right now. We will talk about that more in a later class. But if you search airfoil designs, you can get an idea of what the cross section of an airfoil, and the airfoil on your glider will in fact be the wing. So this is kind of like the cross section of what your wing should look like. You don't have to worry too much about that right now, but it's worth researching. If you just want to get a design and a shape into Onshape, that's totally fine at the beginning, and we'll talk more in class how to get more in depth. Some good resources that I found I did search how to make a 3D printed glider. Here's the one that I was telling you, where somebody used a straw as the main fuselage or body, and then they designed these 3D printed structural components that they plan to then wrap with some type of paper product. Something like that is not unreasonable. Here's a real basic design. This obviously is not a 3D printed glider, but this is essentially the design, the idea that we're going for. While I don't intend to have you print anything from here, it wouldn't be an awful idea to go to Thingiverse and search glider and see some other gliders that people have already designed and 3D printed. Some of these are probably pretty good ideas to use as a starting point. The ones that look like a fighter jet, probably not great gliders. Those designs are meant to have power. So what you're looking for are probably designs where you have a much larger wing area as compared to the fuselage, because you're not going to have constant power flinging this into the air. Something like this down here, this one does say it's a motorized glider, but this is more along the lines of what is going to end up working. So keep all those things in mind when you're doing your research. Once you've found a couple of things that you would like to use as kind of the basis or starting points for your ideas, take a snippet or a screenshot of what you are using, what inspired you to make the design that you're making, and that will be part of your first submission, along with whatever you design in Onshape. All right. So this project is not one that I expect you to finish in one class. All I'm looking for with your first assignment is some preliminary research that you take screenshots of, and then a screenshot of your Onshape file wherever you get to. It doesn't need to be a finished, completed glider. But again, keep in mind the capabilities of our 3D printers and the fact that we need to be designing this so that at least the majority of your glider will be 3D printed.